On a sweltering summer night in 1985, Southern California found itself gripped by a terror unlike anything it had experienced before. Residents double-checked their locks, left lights burning through the night, and slept with weapons within arm's reach. A predator was moving through their neighborhoods with terrifying randomness, striking in the darkness with such brutality and unpredictability that no one felt safe. The rich and the poor, the young and the elderly, those in Los Angeles and those miles away in San Francisco, all were potential targets. The man hunting them would become known as the Night Stalker, but his given name was Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez, later anglicized to Richard Ramirez. To understand how he became one of California's most feared serial killers requires examining the dark path that led him from a troubled childhood in El Paso, Texas, to the corridors of death row. Richard Ramirez was born on February 29, 1960, in El Paso, the youngest of 5 children born to Mercedes and Julian Ramirez. His father worked on the Santa Fe Railroad and ruled the household with an iron fist, frequently beating his children. Richard suffered 2 significant head injuries as a child, one from a dresser that fell on him at age 2, the other from a swing at a park at age 5. Both incidents left him unconscious and may have contributed to his later epileptic seizures and behavioral problems. But perhaps the most damaging influence came from his older cousin Miguel, a decorated Green Beret who had served in Vietnam. Miguel regaled the impressionable young Richard with graphic stories of wartime atrocities, showing him Polaroid photographs of Vietnamese women he had raped, tortured, and killed. In 1973, when Richard was 12 years old, he witnessed Miguel shoot and kill his wife in a domestic dispute. The trauma of that moment, combined with years of exposure to Miguel's violent worldview, deeply scarred the adolescent boy. As a teenager, Richard became increasingly isolated and disturbed. He dropped out of high school, developed a heavy marijuana habit that evolved into cocaine addiction, and began breaking into homes to steal items he could sell for drug money. He was fascinated with Satanism and heavy metal music, particularly the band AC/DC. He moved to California in his early 20s, drifting between Los Angeles and San Francisco, supporting himself through petty theft and burglary. By 1984, his criminal behavior had escalated beyond simple property crimes. What happened next would terrorize an entire state. The attacks began in June 1984, though they wouldn't be connected for some time. 79-year-old Jenny Vinco was found dead in her Los Angeles apartment, her throat slashed so deeply she was nearly decapitated. The case went cold. Then, in March 1985, the violence erupted with shocking intensity. On March 17, Ramirez broke into the home of 22-year-old Maria Hernandez in Rosemead, shooting her in the face as she pulled into her garage. Miraculously, the bullet ricocheted off her car keys. He then entered the home and shot her roommate, 34-year-old Dale Okazaki, killing her. Less than an hour later, he dragged 30-year-old Sil Yan Yu from her car in Monterey Park and shot her repeatedly. 10 days later, he attacked 64-year-old Vincent Zazzara and his 44-year-old wife Maxine in their Whittier home, shooting Vincent and savagely mutilating Maxine, even gouging out her eyes. The attacks continued with horrifying frequency throughout the spring and summer. What made these crimes so terrifying was their complete randomness. Ramirez had no specific victim type. He attacked men and women, young and old, in wealthy neighborhoods and working-class areas, across multiple jurisdictions from Los Angeles County to Orange County to San Francisco. He entered homes through unlocked windows and doors, sometimes removing screens, sometimes prying open frames. His weapons varied, sometimes a gun, sometimes a knife, sometimes a tire iron or hammer. He would shoot some victims, bludgeon others, stab many, and sexually assault numerous women. Some victims he forced to swear allegiance to Satan. He left pentagrams drawn at crime scenes and scrawled satanic symbols on walls. This signature behavior became crucial to eventually linking the crimes. But initially, the sheer variety of his methods and victim selection meant that different law enforcement agencies didn't immediately recognize they were hunting the same killer. The investigation was plagued by jurisdictional fragmentation. Los Angeles Police Department, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and multiple smaller municipal departments were each working their own cases, not yet sharing information effectively. Forensic technology in 1985 was limited compared to today. DNA profiling was in its infancy and not yet widely available to law enforcement. But investigators did have one crucial piece of evidence: shoe prints. At multiple crime scenes, distinctive diamond pattern shoe prints were found, eventually identified as from Avia Aerobic sneakers, a relatively uncommon brand. Only 1,400 pairs have been sold in California. The breakthrough came from fingerprint analysis. After attacks in San Francisco, a clear fingerprint was lifted from a getaway car Ramirez had stolen. Running it through the new automated fingerprint system produced a match: Richard Ramirez, a petty criminal with a record of burglary and drug offenses. His booking photo was released to the media on August 30, 1985, splashed across newspapers and television screens throughout California. The next morning, Ramirez, who had been in Arizona visiting family and was unaware his face had been broadcast statewide, returned to Los Angeles. When he entered a liquor store in East Los Angeles and saw his own face on the front page of every Spanish-language newspaper, he ran. He attempted to steal several cars but was recognized by residents in the neighborhood. A group of citizens, furious and frightened after months of terror, chased him down, beating him with a metal rod until police arrived and pulled him from the mob. The trial of Richard Ramirez became a media spectacle. He appeared in court wearing sunglasses, flashing a pentagram drawn on his palm, and shouting "Hail Satan" at cameras. He seemed to relish the attention, smiling at groupies who attended the proceedings daily, some even declaring themselves in love with him. The prosecution presented overwhelming physical evidence: the shoe prints, fingerprints linking him to multiple scenes, stolen property from victims found in his possession, and eyewitness testimony from survivors who identified him in court. The defense attempted to argue that Ramirez had been misidentified, that the evidence was circumstantial, and that his disturbed behavior was the result of severe mental illness stemming from childhood trauma and substance abuse. The jury deliberated and on September 20, 1989, found Richard Ramirez guilty of 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. During the penalty phase, the jury recommended death. The judge formally sentenced him to death in California's gas chamber on November 7, 1989. Ramirez responded by saying, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory. I'll see you in Disneyland." Richard Ramirez spent 23 years on death row at San Quentin State Prison, filing numerous appeals that were all ultimately denied. He married one of his groupies during Lyoy in 1996 in a ceremony at the prison. He never expressed remorse for his crimes. On June 7, 2013, at age 53, Richard Ramirez died from complications related to B-cell lymphoma at Marin General Hospital while still awaiting execution. The Night Stalker case fundamentally changed how California approached serial crime investigations. It accelerated the implementation of computerized databases for sharing information across jurisdictions and highlighted the critical importance of interagency cooperation. The case demonstrated the power of media in criminal investigations, both as a tool for generating leads and for warning the public. The fear Ramirez generated that anyone, anywhere, at any time could become his victim represented a profound violation of the sense of safety people felt in their own homes. His crimes forced a cultural reckoning with randomness of violence and the limits of security. Decades later, the Night Stalker remains a symbol of evil that seemed to emerge from nowhere, reminding us that sometimes the monsters are real, and they walk among us until someone finally stops them.